So I heard that you are from a similar neighborhood to Teenie. Where are you guys from? Can I get some streets? Nobody, what street? What is the street? 35th Street and what? 31st and what? And till then, okay. So you guys definitely can relate to this story. You probably see some of the things on the train. I'm really excited to read to you. I've never read to people that actually live in the neighborhood besides my family. So how many people have actually read the book? Finished? No, okay, I'm making sure you raise your hand. Okay, my name is Christopher Grant. It took me about 10 years to write this book. 10 years of on and off, 10 years of struggling, 10 years of rejection. But it taught me to appreciate hard work. It's something that my mother, who is West Indian, how many people are from, have parents from the West Indies? Anybody from Barbados? Jamaica? Any Jamaicans? Okay. My mother's from Barbados, and she always had this saying, you get out what you put in. You know, when I was your age, I'm like, all I heard was, womp womp, like it's Charlie Brown. Hey, get out of here, I'm playing video games. But as I started to age, I learned to appreciate that. And this was a labor of love. It took me 10 years. As you know, you've read the book. It's written from the perspective of a 14-year-old girl trying to balance the life lessons instilled by her parents, which is to study hard and do well in school, versus what her friends tell her to do, which is to wear tight clothes and meet boys. So I'm going to read some excerpts. You're welcome to read along, and depending on your level of enthusiasm, I may ask you to participate in the reading. So would people be interested in doing that, reading along with me and playing some of the characters in the book? Anybody want to do that? If I see 3 hands up, then I'll do that. You got 5 seconds, 5, 4, I just need 3 hands. I'm not gonna call you on you, I just need 3 hands to say that's what we're gonna do. So, y'all run out of time? Okay, 2.5 hands, well, we'll go with that. We'll pick that one. So I'm gonna start on the bottom of page 18. Teenie has just gotten her braces removed, and her friend Sharice has convinced her to wear a tight dress to school. This is the first time that Sharice is seeing her since Teenie has switched up her style. So I'm going to start at the bottom of 18. I see, Teenie, I told you that dress was hot. Look at you. Sharice has a huge smile on her face, even though her eyes are bloodshot red. Thanks. I'm blushing, trying not to look too nervous. She blows her nose into the most saturated snot rag I've ever seen. I hand her a Claritin pill and take some tissues out of my book bag because the paper towel she's using is on the verge of disintegrating. Sharice and pollen spores don't get along at all. Thanks, Sharice says. She leans towards me and says, in like 5 seconds, turn your head and look on the other side of the train. Okay. I wait, and when I turn, I see some boys standing over there. There are a few of them staring at me, licking their lips and tilting their heads to the side, trying to look sexy. Don't stare too long, because they ain't that cute, but that's what it's going to be like today. You watch. A few years ago, my mother sat both Sharice and me down and explained to us why we should stay away from the bad boys, the thugs that every other girl seems to lose their mind over. She told us that those boys were at their peak and that they had no room to grow. They won't have anything going for them once we get out of high school. Her little speech worked on me, but Sharice loves some thugs. Only the pretty ones, though. As long as they come with the basics, starting with fresh shape-ups and crispy sneakers, they got a chance to get some vibes from my girl. I don't know what kind of boys I like, but I know the kind I don't like. Unfortunately for me, those are exactly the types that always come up to me. Either they're super nerds like Garth, who know the square root of every number from 1 to 1,000, or they have their pants hanging off their butts and their breath smells like goat cheese. It's not like I want boys to talk to me anyway. I wouldn't have an idea what to say because, well, I haven't had much practice. On the rare occasion that they do speak, is to tell me to take my fake green contacts out. I guess I'm a little too homely for them to believe that my eyes are real. One kid said I reminded him of his mother, like I should be in the kitchen baking some cookies or something. He looked confused when I walked away from him. I guess he thought that was a compliment. Today it's a different story. I'm sharing the spotlight with Sharice. Usually when guys come up to us, I'm the one that they have to keep busy while they work on her. They talk to me because they had to. I didn't mind playing second fiddle, so I guess it's only natural that I feel uncomfortable with all the attention. Maybe I shouldn't have worn this dress. My allergies are killing me. Sharice whines, blowing her nose. My eyes feel like they're about to explode. Sharice must be blowing a little too hard because the lady next to her starts cowering away and covers her nose with her finger. Sharice is busy cleaning up and doesn't notice. A seat opens up across the aisle, and a woman jumps up from where she's sitting. She knocks a man's video player out of his hand, and he yells, "Damn, lady, take it easy." Sharice looks up just in time to catch the woman giving her a dirty look. Why is that lady looking at me like that? She was covering her face and looking at you like you had swine flu. For real, whatever. I keep my eyes on the woman, and sure enough, she looks up at Sharice again, shaking her head with disgust. I don't know what her problem is, like Sharice having allergies means she's radioactive or something. I can't stand people like that. I wish there was some way I could get back at her. I smile when I realize what she's reading. I turn to Sharice and whisper, "I read that book." "Which one? The one that lady's reading?" "Yup. It was good too. One of those thrillers where they keep you guessing right up until the end." "Really? How did it end?" "The main character's family dies in a plane crash and he jumps off a bridge." "Word?" Sharice gets a look on her face like she's plotting something. As we get up to leave the train, the woman flashes one last nasty glance in our direction. Exactly what Sharice was waiting for. On her way out of the door, Sharice leans over to the woman, points at her book and says, "He dies in the end." Okay, so I'm gonna give you two options. You can either read along with me, I'll need 4 volunteers, or I can read and do Teenie's father's crazy accent. So, show of hands for who wants to read along with me. And I guess I'll be reading chapter 10, and it's really funny, but it's okay. If y'all just read me stand up, I know we're all right though. I'm not even gonna tell you what page I'm reading, you gotta find it. No. I'm gonna be reading page 95. Now, Teenie is trying to get into this special program, YSAP, Young Scholars Study Abroad program, and she has to convince her father. And those of you that have grown up in a traditional West Indian family know about these old-fashioned, hard-headed fathers. I see you now, like, my dad just like that. So, yeah, well, my mother was Beresford. So Beresford is based on my mother and 3 of her brothers. So I always enjoy reading this part of the story because it's very close to me. This is what I grew up in. And some of the rules that Beresford sets are based on rules that my mother said. And I'm sure one of you guys will ask that question. I'm telling you to ask that question so I can tell you which story, which rules my mother had. Okay, so we're starting page 95. One thing that Beresford insists on is that we eat as a family. Since my brothers are away at school and my mother works nights, eating as a family is usually dinner for 2. The rule about family meals is one of the few things he does that I think makes sense. I love my father, but Lord have mercy, is he weird. He is as old-fashioned can be. That dang flat top has been on top of his head since the beginning of time, and he's worn the same cologne, which he bathes in, since he first started dating my mother. I don't know if Brute for Men was popular back in the day, but the fact that he buys it in CVS should say something. When I asked him about it, he said, "Your mother did like me back then and she still like me now, so I ain't got to change nothing." I understand that people get set in their ways, but when it comes to some of his rules, they don't make sense at all. I wish someone could explain to me why I have to finish the bottle of apple juice before I can open the carton of fruit punch. And forget taking a drink while I eat. I have to finish all my food before I can drink any water or juice. I could be eating a sandwich made out of sand and sawdust, and Beresford would say, "Eat all your food first. You're gonna fill up your belly with drink, and you ain't gonna leave no room for the food." My father's strict rules make me love the times that I've eaten at Sharice's house. Her mother leaves money, and we get Chinese or pizza and sit in front of the TV. I make sure to drink some soda right after my first bite, and we crank the volume of the TV all the way up. The only time Beresford lets us eat in front of the television is during the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals. There is a downside to eating at Sharice's house, though. I can count on one hand the times that I've eaten there and her mother ate with us. Sharice tries to play tough and all, like it doesn't bother her. Every now and then she lets her true feelings show, saying I'm lucky. If she thinks I'm lucky, she can trade places and eat dinner with Sir Blabs-a-lot anytime she wants. As usual, he does most of the talking during dinner, but tonight I have an agenda. That's if I can get a word in. My dad reaches for a plate and moves over to the stove. "Oh, let me get that for you, Daddy. You had such a long day at work." I don't have to tell him twice. Garth is right on the money with that suggestion. Beresford's been going on and on about a new laptop computer his company gave him. He keeps pronouncing it laptop no matter how many times I correct him. He's already made me promise about 50 times to help him set it up. Once I promise for the 51st time, he goes back over to the table and jumps right into one of his long-winded stories. This one sounds familiar, so I set my responses to autopilot. "For real, Daddy? Wow, that's crazy. Now he'll start talking about how somebody, probably Priscilla, did something wrong and how he had to pick up the slack. I wonder how this lady keeps her job because according to my dad, she's a waste of brain matter. Here it comes. Martine, I tell you that woman is incompetent. She left out the entire section detailing the violations, the most important part of the document. And you know how to fix she missed? Let me guess. You had to do it? My mouth is wide open with shock to get him to think I actually care. That's right, but as soon as you show me how to use that laptop, I'll be able to review her mistakes on the subway. Laptop, Daddy, laptop. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if she was teething and rubbing the SEC blind. My dad has these sayings, I call them Barreticisms, and teething is one that he uses most frequently. Teething, or stealing, is done by a thief, or when my dad's really angry, a tiefer. It's no wonder that growing up I thought Queen Latifah was a criminal mastermind. Lord, this man is strange. My parents have always made sure to include God in our house. We pray before we eat every meal and go to church every Sunday. My dad usually does the honors. Lord God, we thank you for this food. Bless the hands that prepared it and make it nourishment to our bodies. In Jesus' blessed name, amen. When I was 4 years old, Beresford let Kari say grace, and my brother said, rub-a-dub-dub, thanks for the grub. My father sent it to his room, and I had to stuff my mouth full of broccoli to keep from laughing. Wazzy got sent to his room too because he couldn't stop smiling. I don't realize I'm smiling about it until Beresford asked, what's so funny? Oh, nothing. I was just thinking about the game winner today. My father grunts as he shovels a spoonful of rice into his mouth. I read in the papers that Greedy had a much stronger team. Yeah, they're usually really good, but our best player really played well. My dad nods his head. Martine, all the plantain is gone? It's plantain? I didn't see it. He raises his hands to stop me from getting up and says, I'll get it. As he stands and walks to the stove, he bumps the edge of the table, and his spoon falls on the floor. To call that thing a spoon is a stretch because Beresford has made some serious alterations to it. When I watch him use it, I think about one of those cheesy infomercials that say, it slices, it dices. He calls it his spife, part spoon, part knife, and keeps it in a special box wrapped in an embroidered cloth with his initials on it. He used to just keep it in the cloth, but now he locks it in the box because Kari tried to eat with it when he was little and cut his lip. It's razor sharp on one side, and Beresford uses it to cut chunks of steak, chop up vegetables, peel apples, and crack open chicken bones so he can suck out the marrow. Both of my parents sucked the mess out of some bones, and I think it's so gross. My dad managed to carve 2 hooks into the spice so he can eat spaghetti. I don't know how he does it, but he flicks his wrist around and gets a bunch of noodles curled onto it. My father picks up his prized possession, rinses it off at the sink, and sits back down to eat again. I get up from the table and walk to the stove. How many do you want, Daddy? What? The plantain? I forgot. Sorry. I'll take 4 pieces. I might as well get a little extra gravy while I'm up. So how was school today? Finally. I've been waiting for him to ask me that. This is probably my best shot to bring up YSAP. While he was busy talking about Priscilla the Klutz, I've been trying to figure out exactly how to change the subject. School was great, Daddy. I had a pop quiz in American Studies. How old are you? 100, I say, cutting him off. If I let him start talking again, I'll never get to ask him. Then later on in math class, we started going over some new material. And after that, I found out that I'm on the waiting list for YSAP. It's a program to study abroad for a semester, I say, handing him one of the pamphlets. All I need to do is raise my average one point and I qualify for a scholarship, I add, because there's no way my dad would pay the regular tuition. I can feel hope swelling in my chest as he sits and listens to every word without interrupting. He even puts his spife down. I start having visions of fiestas, drinking sangria with my new friends Juan Carlos and Adriana. Well, maybe that's it. Taking weekend trips to the beach in Mallorca. Why Spain? He asked, revealing the slightest bit of interest maybe. It was either Spain or French, and aside from saying bonjour, I don't speak a lick of French. Beresford is going to let me go. I can feel it. The program is all about cultural experience. We'll be going on weekly trips to the museum, Basque Country, and you ready for this? Here's the best part. You know how you're always saying that the media and history books never show the achievements of black people, right? Well, they're even going to take us to Alhambra, the Moorish fortress in Granada. He smiles and nods his head as he flips through the brochure. I've got momentum, so I keep pressing. It's very affordable. I can even chip in and get a little part-time job to help with any spending money I might need. Affordable? How much is affordable? Well, there are some expenses that I'll be responsible for. My dad looks down and rubs his head in frustration. He brings his eyes back up and said, how much does it cost? I pause, then blurt, $13,000. No, but Daddy, I can get a scholarship. I would just need spending money. Young lady, have you seen the exchange rate recently? But he picks his spife back up. That means stop talking. I try my luck with my mother in the morning. Okay, so now I did a whole bunch of talking. I want to get you guys Any questions? I already loaded you up with one question that y'all probably forgot. What he said, Dad, what's his favorite color? I can't remember. So ask me whatever you want. Let's go. Fire away. You gotta tell me your name first when I call you. And I see your hand up. What's your name? China. China.
What part of the story is true?
Okay. Well, there's some inappropriate contact later in the story with Greg. Unfortunately, that is based on numerous accounts from my friends where you have the star athlete, the entitled individual that is used to getting things his way, and then when somebody says no, you don't really understand. And unfortunately, things go down the road that, excuse my French, kind of sucks. So that part, not word for word based on what happened, but I've heard accounts. A lot of my friends have told me that that kind of stuff has happened to them. The spife that I read to you about, that's real. My Uncle Tyrone has a spife. My grandmother threw it in the garbage, and my Uncle Tyrone was livid. That was my spoon. Oh, she gonna throw away my spoon? He was so upset. This kind of segues into the question that I told you to ask about rules. If I opened a bottle of apple juice, I could not open the fruit punch until I finished the apple juice. Somebody explain that to me. One person had a theory. They said, well, maybe when your mother was growing up, they didn't have a good refrigerator and the juice was fresh, so if you opened it, you had to finish. It's like, man, they got preservatives now, man. Like, I don't need to throw my apple juice. So I started mixing it together. I get in trouble. My friend Chad, one of my really good friends, his mother would not let us take a drink until we ate all the food. It didn't matter what we ate. We could be eating the driest thing you could think of. And we couldn't drink. I'm like, I can't breathe. Didn't matter. Finish your food. What else in here is real? The twins. My brother was so evil to me that I had to split him into two people. So he would give me wedgies. Everybody know what a wedgie is? I don't know if you know. And I have to walk around the house with a wedgie. He's bigger than me, 7 years older than me. He might show up here, so if y'all could beat him up, when he comes, I appreciate it. So I had to walk around the house like that. So him terrorizing me, that's real. That's real. Greg, based on guys that I went to school with. The Brooklyn Tech experience, that's where I went to high school. The neighborhood, I grew up in the neighborhood. I played basketball at 40th Park. I took the 4 train to school. Eating at Golden Crust. Walking on Flatbush Avenue. But there was no Barclays Center when I was there. It was just a hole in the ground. I remember when they were filming Die Hard with a Vengeance. I'm really dating myself now. And I saw the back of Bruce Willis's head. I'm like, yeah, that's Bruce Willis's head. And that's where the Barclays Center is now. It was just a pit. So, pretty cool. One more thing that's real. The encounter on the subway where Sharice sees the woman scoffing at her. I had allergies one day. This woman looked at me like I was disgusting for coming on the train with allergies. I have allergies. I don't have an infectious disease. I have an allergic reaction to pollen. Like, why are you looking at me with such... I mean, if you could have seen this woman's face, she was just like... So I blended that story with another story that's real. You guys know what it's like to ride the train, especially when you get on the first stop and people are just by the door, just waiting. As soon as those gates open, it's like a horse race. Talk about the value of real estate in New York City. The most valuable piece of real estate in New York is a seat on the subway. I don't care what anybody said, people will fight each other over it, and errands popping out, all kind of stuff. So these 2 women ran to the subway seat. One woman was bigger than the other, bumped out the way. That's why be doing this, and your mother this. But the woman was sitting down, but I got the seat though. So she started reading her book, and the other lady was just like, and somehow managed to get a look at the cover. She was like, so as she was getting off the train, she goes, he dies in the end. And the lady's like, oh. So that's real. That's also real. So a lot of my life experiences are in this book, and that's why I had so much fun writing it. And that was the longest question ever. Your name?
Tahara.
Tahara? Okay.
My question is, how do you do such a good point of view of a girl?
Don't let me stop. I grew up in a house dominated by strong female personalities. My mother and her 3 sisters. I also grew up with my brother Alfonso. It was easy for me to capture that voice because I hear it all the time. When I get on the subway, I still write on the subway now, so if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is @NYC Subway Writer, because I actually write on the train. I do 90% of my writing on the subway. I don't think it's there. My website is listed there, but not my Twitter handle. You know what? When I sign your books, I'll put that there. Yes, just remind me. What was your question again? No, I'm just kidding. I also, my niece, who I dedicated the book to, she helped me to keep it current. When I was in school, if somebody had a lot of clothes, we say, you know, they have a lot of gear. So I was like, Winga, how do you say that? If somebody has a lot of clothes, what do you say? They have a lot of clothes. I was like, okay. So I took gear out and put that in. But the point about riding the subway is when people your age get on the subway, you'll see people go and put their headphones on. I'm like, oh my God, it's so loud. Like, why are you telling me? Why are you telling me? I used to talk just like that. So but eventually you're gonna get to my age and be like, oh my God, why are they so loud? But when you guys get on the train, I take my headphones off. Because what you say and what you do, believe it or not, everybody's watching you. They watch how you dress, the trends of your clothing, the trends of the music you listen to, the way you speak. For example, I didn't use it in this book. When I was younger, if somebody was unattractive, you would say they were busted. Now, I hear, you know, her body was tight, but her face was hit. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. I like that. So the constant evolution of language, everybody is watching you and listening. So for me, I'm on the train, I take my headphones off, I got my laptop out, I hear this dialogue, I'm like, ooh, not necessarily stealing it, just kind of borrowing it, you know, weaving it into what I'm writing. So that dialogue, that organic, raw stuff on the subway, there's no place else like that. And that's how I was able to keep the language and capture the voice of a 14-year-old girl. I think I did an okay job. No question? Nobody got no question? Really? You kind of half raised your hand. What's your name? Sharifa. I see my mother's sister, my favorite aunt. She's from Grenada. Teenie's mother is based on her. She had the same question as you, but she asked it a little bit more twang. She's like, oh, you just got any book like that? She was so upset with me. The reason I ended it like that was because I had plans for a sequel. So when I met with my editor, she was like, okay, I have a 2-book deal with Random House. She's like, what do you want to write next? Oh, I got this great idea for a second Teenie, and you know, I started laying the story out for her. She was like, what else you got? See, the thing is, this was prior to, you know, book sales. The Teenie made it to paperback, so that's a benchmark. So they have to protect themselves against the investment that they made in me, so they wanted to see if I could branch out and do something else. And I'll get to that in a second. So I left it like that with the intention of writing a sequel. I have about 70% of it done. So I had to put it aside, but I'm working on a television show, so keep your fingers crossed, and that'll be season 2. We'll pick up at the end of what happened there. Your name? Shalexia? Okay. Beresford? Okay, again, my evil brother. Now my mind works tangentially, I love that word, where I just talk about one thing and somehow end up over here, and then most times I can bring it back. See, now I forgot the question. No, I'm just kidding. My brother had me convinced that my mother was going to name me Bert Harvey Grant III. Now, mind you, there's no Bert Harvey Grant Sr. or the second, but I was convinced that that my mother's, and I asked my mother, oh, how could you do that, name? My brother was like, I saved you though, man. I told her to name you Chris. So that was like my little paying homage to my brother, because that was something, he had me believing that till I was about 12 years old. That my mother was gonna name me Bert Harvey Grant. Now, who the hell is Bert Harvey Grant? And why did I believe that? So, like I said, the two brothers are based a large part on my brother. So convincing Teenie that she had a obese older sister named Beresford just seemed like a way to make my brother laugh. So the people that know me, different walks of life, my family will look at one part of the book and laugh at that part. And my friends from college will find stories in there that we went through together. So this book was, even some of the characters' names. Beresford is my godfather's name. Solazi and Bakri are my nephews. Who else did I name? Mr. Spade is one of my really good friends. Asalia, the girl who outs Greg for what he is Mr. Spade's wife, one of my really good friends. That's my way of paying homage, and also embedding stories from my childhood, like naming the cat Beresford.
So it's not a question, it's more of a statement. I kind of wanted to know Teenie when Wazzy and
Kari.
Came back from college and they were just playing basketball in the park. I kind of wanted and Greg was there. I kind of wanted her to tell us that so they could give her.
Right, and I mean, you're not the first person that told me that. My aunt and one of my friends like, yo man, she should have told them, they would have stomped them out. But Teenie is the type of person that doesn't want to get her brothers in trouble. She knows they have a scholarship. She also knows that her brothers won't stop. As much as they terrorize her, only they're allowed to terrorize her. So had she told them what Greg did, he would have got murked. And I don't know if that word is still, no, see, that's where he would have got like all this up in here and, you know, yeah, he would have got beat the heck up. So that's why she didn't tell us, because she knows her brother wouldn't stop. She also was still struggling with blaming herself. That's a lot, unfortunately, especially in society with music and stuff now, it's gotten progressively worse, in my opinion. But like that, it's okay. Like if somebody says no, you know, this whole Rick Ross slipping Molly and drink all kind of craziness. I don't know if you guys have heard the controversy about that. His lyrics are being criticized. But when a girl says no, yeah, that means no. But Teenie was struggling with that. Like, oh, I put myself in this situation, but you said no. So she's still trying to fight with this, still blaming herself, doesn't want to get her brothers involved in it.